everybody. Lucas Melby here, joined by
Jacob Telejohn.
And we, of course, are a whole new pod, the podcast, mostly about Disney Channel original movies. But what's the movie everybody's talking about right now? Everybody's like, Deadpool. I almost said versus Wolverine. Deadpool and Wolverine. What an uncreative title. But everybody's talking about this movie. Get a load of this Deadpool. He swears.
Cursing. First R-rated Disney film.
I don't know if that's true, but he's always like, did I do that? And he knows he's in a movie.
Pegging.
Yeah, he talks about getting fucked in the ass by his wife, I think. Yeah. I don't know. I've never seen any of the movies.
Oh, wow.
Famously, for me, not for anybody else, but I was going to go see Deadpool 1 with Sam and mutual friend of ours, Devin. And earlier that day, me and Sam had gone and seen Hail Caesar, or maybe the last Coen Brothers co-op movie. And then I was like, if you're going to go see Deadpool later today, just text me when you're going and I'll come along. Never texted me. So never seen the movie, mostly out of spite to Sam. But why are we talking about Deadpool and Wolverine? Jacob might not know. But who is the director of this major motion picture making all of this money? One Shawn Levy. Who is Shawn Levy? Levi? Who knows? Well, Jacob's actually probably a big fan of him. Because looking at his filmography, I was able to discover that there's been 3 Night at the Museum movies.
Oh my.
And he's directed all of them.
I love that. I've heard his name.
Does not have the most sterling filmography. He's directed a lot of the Ryan Reynolds shit movies that have come out recently. So he directed Free Guy, The Adam Project, but going back further, shout out to Gunnar Botcher. He directed Real Steel.
Oh my.
Date Night, the Steve Martin Pink Panther movie, as well as Cheaper by the Dozen.
Ooh,
and what has been brought into your podcast feed today, One Big Fat Liar, was his second or third. He's not made a lot of good movies. It's a weird shift in his career to have this big R-rated movie that's made hundreds of millions of dollars. But I think it's probably more that he is just... as often happens with these Marvel movies, though this is maybe more Ryan Reynolds controlling him, but he's a director that can be slotted in and just be told what to do. Whether that was the case for the movie we watched today.
So he directed this, and we're doing our second produced Dan Schneider film.
Yes, that's the other. Whether they could have seen into the future or not, we do not see really any credits for this movie until the end of the movie, but this movie, Big Fat Liar, starring one Frankie Muniz, who is
Amanda Bynes,
known to us, but Amanda Bynes, much more connected to the Dan Schneider verse, and Dan Schneider has both a story by and written by credit.
He's not in this at all, is he?
No, I do not believe. I think Shawn Levy is actually somewhere in the party scene of this movie, but he's just a generic-looking white guy, I think.
Yeah, I
so
didn't notice,
he's not going to stand out.
I didn't notice Mr. Dan Schneider anywhere.
No, Dan Schneider, again, I'll only say it because he makes plenty of fat jokes and all of the stuff he writes, but he's a big guy. So if Dan Schneider was in this, we would have seen.
Hard to miss.
So I guess currently I think he's probably on Ozempic, so he's probably shed some pounds. So maybe not as bigger anymore. Yeah, I don't... Big Fat Liar, it was a movie we had talked about doing for a while, and definitely after having seen it. I had never seen this movie. Had you seen this?
A month ago, but...
Wait, you watched it a month ago?
Yeah.
Why did you watch it a month ago?
I don't know. Well, I had it on.
We definitely would have talked about it maybe a month ago, doing Big Fat Liar at some point. Well...
I
guess that's an excuse for why Jacob fell asleep at one point in this movie.
I mean, there are some iconic imagery from this movie.
Have you never seen this, but seen trailers before movies or DVDs I rented or seen in a theater? Paul Giamatti
is the blue man.
In blue face paint or blue.
Very iconic.
Tobias Funke blued himself.
Yeah, pretty.
That stuck with me. I think I had a decent idea of what this movie was going in, and largely that panned out, where I was like, is this going to be a movie that kind of exhausts me.
It's a Hollywood movie about Hollywood, about making movies.
Yes, it's just right up there. Movie Mason to be singing about this Hollywood.
Is this or Babylon a better representation of Hollywood?
No, but it is not a great movie. But
it was a fun movie.
Let's not delay it any further. Let's just. Well, actually, no. The reason it was on my radar is something I felt like this lined up with some DCOMs, just in its look and feel, and that carried out with just the way it's filmed, the characters in it. Of course, we had Frankie Muniz in Miracle in Lane 2, very early on DCOM, probably came out after this movie. Or no, this movie came out after that, and he would have been in prime, like Malcolm in the Middle time here. Amanda Bynes, we haven't watched anything with her because she was big Nickelodeon star
and
of the time.
Dan Schneider's
he just liked her.
Yeah.
I never actually finished watching Quiet on the Set because we had already watched Good Burger at that point. I'm like, well, I got nothing more to say. But a lot of the stuff that came out with that, it's mostly that Dan Schneider seemed like a shitty guy, which I think is kind of par for the course throughout most of Hollywood. But there's tiers where it's is he Bryan Singer, Kevin Spacey, Harvey Weinstein, horrible person, or was he just a bad, shitty, exploitative boss? And I think it's more on that side. I don't think he was, a creepy pedophile or whatever. That I think some people who maybe didn't watch that series is just he likes feet and he's. Yeah, we don't need to get into it.
We digress. So this movie did come out in 2002 theatrically. 15 million budget, made 53 million. So, pretty solid hit.
I don't know what the metrics back then were.
It made money.
Yeah, it made money. Though I don't know, maybe they spent a lot on marketing for me to have known so clearly Paul Giamatti.
I didn't know there was a sequel.
Yes, so I didn't either. Or
Bigger, Fatter Liar.
Bigger, Fatter Liar. Good title. I'll give it that. And that one, the villain, I just saw a very disturbing picture of him who got white-faced.
Barry Bostwick plays Larry Wolf.
He looks like Demi Lovato in Camp Rock 1 when she gets flour on her face.
Barry Bostwick does?
When he gets a big white face in that movie.
Yikes.
And I'm just that's enough. I don't need to know any more about that. But we watched this movie. We know plenty about Big Fat Liar, so let's just get right into it with an opening that made me think maybe I went back in time for us, but then went a little forward in time from Big Fat Liar to Heavy Rain on the PS3 because we start the movie just hearing, Jason! 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 Everybody's pressing X to Jason. And that's because Jason, our main character, played by Frankie Muniz, Jason Shepard, I'll just call it out here. Not something I made the connection of, but the story, the boy who cried wolf is the clear inspiration for this movie.
Yeah.
Jason Shepard, his nemesis in this is Marty Wolf.
Okay, Wolf. Okay.
But Jason, this montage of him being called out by his parents, it's did you eat breakfast? Oh yeah, so good. In my tummy. Did you write your paper?
Feeds his dirty oatmeal to the dog.
In this, we're getting Smash Mouth. I don't know the song off the top of my head, but I just recognize the singer. Rest in peace, whoever that guy was. So I kind of went off the deep end at the end.
All right.
He's racing to school. There's a bully.
Yes, so the bully is actually Jordan Cahill from the movie Stuck in the Suburbs.
Yeah, that's his character name in it.
Yes.
So Telejon had a good pull to connect to those.
I recognized him. I knew him. I knew that was the guy in our Daniel Panabaker and Brenda Song movie.
So he gets his skateboard stolen by him, which then makes him late getting to school.
So he has to sneak in through the window with Amanda Bynes' help, distracting the
teacher. And her
teacher.
Character is Kaylee, and the teacher
is familiar.
Sandra Oh, Grey's Anatomy. As well as plenty of other stuff, but but this would have been, I'm sure, very early on in her career, despite how long Grey's Anatomy it's still running. I don't think she's still on it, but she was on it from the first season. So he sneaks in the window, and then he's just lying up a storm as far as Oh, you think I came through this window? No, I was closing the window. Where's your paper that's due today? Oh, my dad choked on a meatball.
And then so she believes it at first because she goes out into the hallway, or I don't know, to make a phone call, calls his phone, and Amanda Bynes pretends to be like the secretary, and he pretends to be the dad, and they trick her for a brief moment anyways.
And I'm like, am I supposed to like this kid? Because that's the kind of thing about Frankie Muniz. He's a smart-ass kid, and that's something that is obviously very much a part of his character, at least to my memory, in Malcolm in the Middle. But then there's kind of an extra layer to it of like, he's the smart person in his family that's very much like solidly middle class or lower middle class. But then he thinks he's like above all of his family. And that's kind of a part of the show, is him being, taken to task and kind of showing that he's not really above them all the time and like this elitist. But a lot of his other stuff is just like, nah, he's just an annoying kid. And that's kind of how I feel a lot of the time in this movie, especially early on, where he's just blatantly lying to all these people, roping his friend Kaylee into doing these things. And I'm just like, am I supposed to like this guy? The only person I really sort of like is Marty Wolf, though. I will say Marty Wolf he's a bad guy.
He's always unlikable in this movie.
He's sometimes likable.
He's funny. It's a really good acting performance.
I was a little underwhelmed. I was really, people, especially, I still haven't watched The Holdovers, but people were like, well, I don't know, maybe Paul Giamatti, this is his year. Maybe he actually beats Cillian Murphy for the Oscar. But I was really hoping. I don't actually know how much I've seen Paul Giamatti in besides like Straight Outta Compton and like even some like TV show stuff. Like I don't know if I've actually watched them. Like I haven't watched Sideways. I haven't watched John Adams or Billions or these other, or is he in Ballers? I don't know. I have respect for Paul Giamatti, but I don't really know his body of work that well. I guess.
What other movies is he in?
I mean, plenty. Was he in like a Transformers? I don't know. He feels like he may have. But his lie, Frankie Muniz's lie to his teacher, is short-lived because his parents are like at the school. I don't know if the teacher just like tried calling again or just called the house, or they find out, oh, you said you did this paper. You told us you did. Oh, I lied. Well, this is a third of his grade, so if he doesn't write this paper by 6 p.m. tonight, he'll have to go to summer school.
And then he's like, oh, I can't do it in 3 hours. Dad's like, well, you're really good at writing. You're coming up with stories. So he does it. He writes his Big Fat Liar.
We get a title. Story. Paper he writes is titled Big Fat Liar.
Originally untitled, but he crosses that out.
Good catch. So he's got this all written on like loose leaf notebook paper. He's got to rush to school because he doesn't have a skateboard.
So he takes his sister's pink bike,
which is like a little kid bike, which then we thought like his sister was a little sister, but then we see her in just one scene and she's a big sister. She's a big sister.
Oh my God. She's innocent.
As her shirt says.
Yes. So he drives past the bully, and like the bully they're like really, they make him really dumb. Like he later on says, oh, you got your skateboard. I'll reference that later on. But anyways, he runs into the side.
I'll hold him into it.
He runs into the side of Marty Wolf.
Just like, wow, he really sounds stupid. That reminds me of something.
I mean, he does, doesn't he?
Came up with, but that was not a great way to illustrate.
No.
But when we were growing up, one of our friends, Shawn, his brother Patrick, we'd always be like, "Oh, your brother's so stupid."
Wow.
And there was one time his brother worked at McDonald's, so we went through the drive-thru as kind of, I don't know, a joke. But I think we did order food. But then his brother's like, "Hey, you want like a milkshake for free?" And we're like. So then I was just like, wow, your brother's such an asshole. He's so dumb. But it's like, no, actually, the situation, hey, he was nice to us. So
yeah,
that just made me think of that. But yeah, he's riding this small bike and...
Bullies are bullying. I mean, he runs into the side of Marty Wolf's vehicle. I don't know if they ran like a stop sign or if Jason was just responsible for getting hit.
Maybe mutually responsible, though it's not Marty Wolf driving the vehicle itself. No. It's his limo. Because it's a big hotshot Hollywood producer who is filming a movie in this Michigan town
about a chicken and cop. It's like a cop story.
Yeah, it's a buddy cop
buddy
movie
cop.
starring Jaleel White, who we'll see
Urkel?
shortly playing himself. Yes, Steve Urkel from Family Matters,
And
as well
an
as the
actual
voice of
chicken.
Sonic in the original American Sonic cartoon.
Wow, I didn't know that. So he's totaled his bike. His bike, you can see the wheels; they're all bent. They're, it's not rideable.
I will say, isn't this like very similar to? No, never mind. Good Burger, he's roller skating.
Yeah.
Dan Schneider is having people. He's having people get hit by cars. The locomotion's different.
Just kind of, he tells him, I got to get to this place. And Marty Wolf's like, no, I'm a busy man. I got to go. So he starts saying, oh, my neck, it hurts. Oh, it'd be a shame if I sued you. So they agree to give him a ride to the night school or whatever the teacher's at.
Just to school by 6 p.m.
But he dumps out his bag in the car accidentally. So he's trying to pick up all of his papers, but he leaves Big Fat Liar behind.
And it's interesting on the ride there, they have some kind of mutual bonding over both being inveterate liars, where he's like, he's telling the story of like,
what you should have done is make your sister not your brother, make it a chicken wing.
Not a meatball is what he said his dad was choking on.
Yeah, just different things.
And then they're kind of like game recognized game, like respect.
Marty Wolf was dropping some Hollywood, references we enjoyed. So, made a reference to Roger Ebert here.
Yes,
right?
Hollywood, Chicago-based Roger Ebert. There were some things that, like, Jacob, especially now hearing that you watched this movie a month ago, where Jacob's like, that line, I think that's from something. I'm like, I don't know. I think it might just be from Big Fat Liar. And that's probably where you were recognizing it from, because you watched it a month ago. I should have had you do the freaking recap for this movie if you'd already watched it ahead of time.
You're the man. You're the man with the plan.
But so then when Jason's leaving the vehicle, Marty sees he forgot his paper, and for a moment he's like, "Hey, you forgot it." So it's like he's still like doing the right thing.
He was, but then he read it and he's like,
Well, because like Jason wasn't. He's like, "Oh, I got to get to the set," and then he's reading it. Again, this was supposed to be an 1,000-word essay.
Yeah.
He's going to turn it into a movie, and I'm like, how? I don't know exactly about script writing, but I feel like even 1,000-word essay or story,
just ideas. He's just getting ideas from it. He's making his assistant write the rest of the movie.
Yeah. Well, it's I don't know how accurate. Or maybe it is accurate to, you always hear about modern movies, or sometimes movies start shooting without a script and it turns out well, or movies have scripts and then they get rewritten, or there's reshoots, or Marvel movies have like action scenes already like in production work with visual effects before they've even like written a script, and then they just have to write the script around these set pieces they want to have in there. Whatever the case is, Jason is going to talk to his parents. Paul Giamatti gets to his set where he meets Jaleel White, who is playing himself as an actor who's in this bad movie where his cop buddy partner is a chicken. So obviously seems quite bad. In the ride there, Jason had mentioned that Marty Wolf has made a bunch of bad movies in a row, and that seems to be the case with this one as well.
It's not received well. I think at one point it's said that the movie loses $30 million or something.
Well, that's at the premiere.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And we're not there yet.
He's $30 million. That's double the budget of this movie.
And he's calling him Urkel. That'll be important, and because Jaleel White does not want him to call him Urkel. Jason doesn't have his paper, and his parents are like there with the teacher. So I don't know if he like went home and then like the teacher and the parents just like sat there the rest of the day.
Oh yeah.
And then he's telling them the truth this time, that he got hit by a car, he lost his paper in the limo.
But like the boy that cried wolf, they don't believe him.
And then cut to summer school.
And I don't remember, like, this scene was like weird. It's just like kind of weird.
It's probably the most artistically done scene in the movie, where
it's giving kind of was it Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas or something vibes?
I've never seen it, but that is a movie.
It's kind of just
I was like, let's see what this pull Jacob has as far as
weird. I don't know.
Weird, goofy vibes. I don't know.
Like the teacher.
So the teacher, I think was filmed maybe with a fisheye lens to give it a kind of weird effect as he was talking. And that was basically it. But that was about like the peak of artistry on Shawn Levy, what he was capable of this early on into his career. Based on trailers I've seen, really busting out some really crazy stuff in Deadpool and Wolverine for sure.
Boy. There was talks about, I was reading too, there was talks about
do you think
2022. Shawn.
Do you think I'm going to care about what this is?
Shawn mentioned that there was going to be another. They were going to come back to this story with these characters.
Yeah, that sounds about what I'd expect from Shawn Levy.
He's pumped.
I mean, I don't know if we need a modern. Well, just say like Frankie Muniz isn't much of an actor. I don't know what Amanda Bynes is doing.
Frankie Muniz is driving NASCAR now.
Paul Giamatti, I'm sure he'd be game. He's down for that kind of stuff. After school, Jason goes to a movie with Kaylee where this paper he needed to get done. Third of his grade or whatever.
Yeah.
Coming into play at like the end of the school year. We're in some point in summer. We get a title card that says summer, but we don't know how long summer school is. Usually I think it's only like the first month or so, or there's kind of maybe phases depending on how many classes you have to make up or whatever.
So we gotta wonder, there is a point where they go to a movie.
What I'm talking about right now.
How much time, and this is what you're getting at, I can tell, but how much time has passed? How much time has passed?
That is what I'm getting at. So at most, I'd say generously, it would be 2 to 3 months where this movie has been
made the trailer,
and then they've made a teaser trailer. They're so big on Big Fat Liars saying it's coming out next year that they've made a teaser trailer.
They've hyped it up as the biggest movie. Like Marty's on, like, talk shows.
They say a Marty Wolf production when it's like all he seems to have made recently is stinkers, as we know in the universe of the movie.
Yes,
so why would they be this hyped up about it?
People are hyped, brother.
And Jacob, you want to explain what the plot premise of Big Fat Liar seems to be?
So from what we can tell is that, like, we see some people kind of looking up to the sky. And
we get movie trailer voice guy.
Yeah.
In a world where you tell too many lies.
Basically, and like we see just giant feet and stuff, like they're not stepping
I guess
on
it is
people,
a Dan Schneider movie.
Oh, feet. But yes, the premise is like, as this character continues to lie, they grow bigger and bigger until they're basically like Paul Bunyan. They're like a giant.
Who wouldn't want to see this movie?
The BFL.
The BFG!
Ooh.
I can't tell you. I gotta give credit to the Blank Check podcast where they always. I haven't ever watched the BFG, so I don't know if that's what the BFG sounds like. But
Steven Spielberg's greatest film.
So then he tells Kaylee, or he's watching.
That's
TV.
my movie. Or she asks him, "Do you want to see that? See it? I think I wrote it.
I wrote that shit."
Yeah,
and he's then there's like it doesn't even seem like an Entertainment Tonight style interview. It just seems like a news report.
Yeah, he has his parents watch the news and they're talking about BFL. He's like that's Marty.
Well, they're interviewing Marty.
Yes, he does tell them, like, when the whole paper deal happens, that like he ran into Marty Wolf or whatever. Like, he tells him that he ran into this guy in the car, and then this guy just so happens to be on TV talking about the same idea that he had. Like, how do his parents not believe him at that point?
Well, the movie doesn't make a lot of sense.
No.
They're like, oh, you're trying to tell us you wrote the plot to this movie that seems bad, and it's being made by this producer who mostly makes bad movies? So nobody believes him. Fortunately, his parents are going on. It said, like, oh, it's a long weekend, and I'm like, in the summer? Like, is it Juneteenth? Is it the 4th of July? What long summer weekends are there?
Yeah.
But that's the cover for him to sneak out, fly from Michigan to Los Angeles because he's saved up money, and it was 2002, maybe pre or post 9/11. Airfare, I guess, was cheaper than it is today.
3 years of mowing or something, he said. So he's got some dough, and he pays for his and Amanda Bynes' ticket.
His parents are out of town. That's how he can get away with it. There's a whole thing where
it's great.
Amanda Bynes is supposed to stay with her grandmother, but then she's tutoring the bully, and then they convince the bully, after he's taken a giant
to dress up dookie, like her.
He clogs a toilet. So that's why it's a Dan Schneider movie, because there's like a poop joke in there.
So he wears her clothing, and like the grandma's obviously has bad eyesight. She has really big, comically big glasses.
Okay, that's where you were going with that.
Yes.
She's got really big, comically big glasses.
Yes. So and
she's really small.
She's very tiny, and he loves
which accentuates her big glasses.
So the bully loves the grandma because
he loves the big glasses.
He knocks on the door and she's like, "Oh, Kaylee, you've gotten so big and so muscular," and he starts grabbing his arm. He's like, "Oh, grandma." So I benched 230 or whatever he's saying.
This felt some of the most Nickelodeon as they cut back a couple of times where he's doing sit-up reps and the grandma's holding his feet. And then she's supposed to be lifting weights to get bulked up herself, and it's
yarn.
Yarn on needles.
It's funny stuff. We like that. I like that.
It's something.
We laughed. We had fun. We have fun here at A Hole in the Pot.
So they fly into LA and what's he gonna do?
The guy from Scrubs is there.
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but the black guy
from Scrubs is there with a sign that's for the biggest fur trader.
Mr. Stroog.
Biggest fur trader in the Midwest or something. And he's like, "Oh, you're Mr. You're Mr. Stroog or whatever." And he's like, "Of course, And he's like, "Oh, the biggest fur trader?" And he's like, "Yeah, I was making furs when I was a baby or whatever." So then they get a ride with him, and then we moments later see this big guy in a big fur coat show up. So it was fun. So they have a chauffeur.
Yeah, so they get dropped off at Universal Studios.
And I recognize the spinning, globe planet thing.
Yep, real eagle-eye viewers.
Yes, Universal.
Will recognize something that they probably saw at the beginning of this movie before it started.
That's true. And then they go on the Backlots tour, which I haven't been on, but I've seen videos. And
they start on the tour, but they quickly sneak off.
They do sneak off.
And then there's apparently a singular security guard who isn't even necessarily looking for them. He's just looking around, and they're like, "Oh no, we gotta run!" And then they just get to Marty Wolf's office.
Yeah.
And they lie to get in past the secretary. We don't need to go into it.
Yes, she loves dogs. She loves dogs a lot. So they prank call, or not prank call. I don't know. They call.
They lie.
Yeah, just like in the beginning of the movie with the teacher and the dad and the meatball. They say that her car is parked on a dog's tail, so she starts dry heaving, and I don't know. She runs out of the office, and Amanda Bynes just takes the phone and just starts taking on her job, I guess, answering phone calls.
But it seemed like they already just sneak past her to go into the copy room to make the calls. Yes. And then later on in the movie, they're just sneaking into the office all the time. So they didn't even need to do this. It was supposed to be funny, I guess. Yeah. Then Jason just goes up to Marty Wolf's office. And we also then meet Marty Wolf's assistant, Monty, who is overworked and is also apparently the script doctor, or she's supposed to polish up the script. Some of it's I don't know if this, clearly the people who made this movie work in Hollywood. They know how the industry works. But is it that they're supposed to be representing it falsely to the viewing audience? Or is it just that Marty Wolf, who's supposed to be also the writer of this movie, is just a shit bag, and that's why he's having his assistant do this uncredited polish or whatever. The movie doesn't have an ending at this point because it's based on a child's homework assignment.
So I wonder if he didn't get all the pages then.
It's 1,000 words. It probably doesn't have a very good ending, if an ending at all.
Yeah, fair enough.
So Jason's just hey, I wrote that, right? And he's like, okay, yeah. What do you want? What do you want me to do?
Because he recognizes the kid, he recognizes him.
Sure.
He's like, "Oh, you gave me my best work," and obviously, Jason's, "Yeah, I just want you to tell my dad that I wrote it." And he's like, "That's all you came here just to tell me that?" And he's like, "Of course, I can do that for you. You gave me my inspiration, my best work." He's getting out the script, which he has in a safe. And he's like, "Oh, you want to smoke up with me there, Johnny?"
The giant cigar.
It's very long. It's 1 foot long, comically long. I don't know if they're regularly that long. Like Lucas said, maybe it needed to get cut. I don't know. We don't smoke. He lights it up. He's pretending to call the dad, right?
I don't know. I don't even really know why it matters. If he just wants him to tell his dad he wrote it. This is all a concocted thing for him to burn the pages because he is accidentally dropping ash on the paper. And it's just He's already in summer school. I guess was it supposed to be like he retroactively gets credit if he brings it back? I don't know.
Yeah,
it was kind of
why not?
Stupid.
Marty was just like you said, like Marty tried to give the paper back to him. Now he just doesn't want to.
But here is my first time I met him. I was just like, I kind of like this Marty guy because he's being like, oh no, here, let me try to put out this fire by stabbing the cigar into the paper. And I'm like, oh, let me put out the fire by throwing alcohol onto it.
That was pretty good.
Jason has met his match. Liar and scumbags alike, they are facing off to each other.
That's true.
He calls in his security team to throw Jason out, but Jason, at some point, steals his Palm Pilot, and he's going to then
ruin his life.
I thought he was going to like extort him, maybe, but that just puts into motion basically the plot of this film, because it's like, well, we were trying to mostly be nice to this guy, but now he's not playing ball with us, so we're gonna ruin his life.
Yeah, and so then they start staking him out.
Well, first they need to find somewhere to stay.
Yeah, so they just find like a props store.
They go to the wardrobe and props department, where then we get a wardrobe montage in wardrobe
outfit.
Yeah, there's
Jurassic Park.
There's a few like interesting props in there, but it's mostly just a bunch of nonsense. A lot of this like backlot is premised on like how movies were made about like 50 plus years before this movie was made.
Yeah.
Where it's just like,
it's fun, though.
They're filming an Egyptian movie, so there's people in pharaoh costumes walking around, and here's these dancers for musicals that don't exist anymore. And
it's yeah, like I said, it's I couldn't imagine when the last time it was like this, very packed, very crowded. But the props department was cool. Like you said,
I enjoyed the wardrobe montage in the wardrobe department.
Yes.
Set to a pop punk song that was not Shazamable, so I don't know if it just exists or not. It was as generic as most pop punk.
Pretty fun, all the different, like you said. I mean, there's I don't know. It was just kind of cool to actually see stuff you recognize from movies. Like I said,
well, let me recommend a movie for you called Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh.
If you like knowing things from other things, sounds like it's the best movie of all time.
Seen it.
You've seen it already?
I saw it last weekend.
Did you love the things that you recognized?
I mean, there's a lot. It's like,
well, don't spoil it for our dumb audience.
It's almost too much.
Too much, even for Jacob, for knowing what that is?
I mean, like, there's stuff that, like, I didn't even like. It was over. It's very knowing. Like you're saying, it's very knowing. That's fun, though.
So it was too much, and, like, you're just like, take it easy. Or it was like you didn't know what some of the things were.
I think it was just, like, too much as in, like, take it easy. Like, the whole movie was, like...
Okay. It's like,
breaking
hey,
the fourth wall.
You
like,
need to have a plot.
Half the movie is looking at the screen, but it was fun.
It was just Ready Player One's final fight scene where it's, oh wow, it's Tracer from Overwatch.
Like I recognized a lot of the stuff, and they were poking fun at. Like I said, I don't want to spoil anything. They're poking fun at a lot of stuff that's going on in the industry and the acquisition of
what the fans
Fox.
love. Industry mergers, studio film rights, and all of that kind of stuff.
Exactly. So a lot of people like seeing it, probably they're not picking up on the stuff.
But Wolverine's in his yellow costume, so I'm gonna come.
Yeah, I did. There's it's fun though. I mean, the comedies, Deadpool. I mean, I can't compare it to anything. You haven't seen any of this stuff, so.
I mean, you can say if it was.
You have you know the vibe.
I mean, I've heard it's got a lot of like kind of dated humor in the sense of like, what if we were gay, but we're not? Whoa! What if my wife fucked me in the ass, but in a straight way or whatever?
Yikes.
Big fat liar. So yes, with the Palm Pilot, they are able to follow his daily schedule or weekly schedule. We don't really know. Because some of it they use for their plans later.
Yeah.
I think we'll just kind of move in. That's phase 1. We get title cards spelling out the different phases. I think we'll just move into phase 2, which is them executing on the plan and call back to how they discovered these things. So the first thing is he's got this nice LA mansion with his own swimming pool where he swam like 17 laps, 25 laps or something.
25 laps.
Respect on. I guess it wasn't a super long pool. It even seemed kind of like it might be hard to swim laps in it because it's kind of narrow as well. Sort of infinity pool.
That's what I was thinking. Infinity pool vibes.
But the start of his day, he's going for a swim. But first, we see him turn over in his bed where we are introduced to Mr. Funnybones.
Which is like a monkey.
A stuffed monkey. Not an actual monkey.
Oh, that'd be...
Might make some stuff later on in the movie a little more concerning. But his Mr. Funnybones is on his bed, and he has his own monogrammed pillow with Mr. FB embroidered on it.
I didn't even catch that.
And he's being goofy guy where it's like, Mr. Funnybones, I'm like, am I supposed to like think this is dumb? I'm like, I don't know. He's having fun as an adult, you know? He's in a high pressure job. You gotta find the fun where you can.
Yeah,
but no, fuck him. Because he goes diving into his pool, and that's where we get to the famous... They really should have called this like Big Blue Liar with how hard they go in.
He's very blue. I mean, he's bluer than Blue Man Group Blue.
I don't know if he's... Because the Blue Man Group like actually paints their face. This is just some kind of like makeup.
Like
coloring.
the front of his body is very blue. His back's kind of spotty. Like the very front of him, they did a very good job.
So Jason and Kaylee had previously, in this moment, they like had snuck in, dumped something.
Blue dye, and then they put like...
So while he's swimming, then they're into his house.
And they're putting, was it sauce? Or was it hot sauce?
Maybe it was some kind of dye. I thought it looked like hot sauce.
That's what I kind of thought, but I mean,
he doesn't respond like it's hot sauce, though.
No, he doesn't. So he's applying this stuff. It's like shampoo. They put it in the shampoo, so he's putting it on his goatee, his
very
eyebrows,
short hair. You don't got a lot of hair for them to have dyed it orange, which is how this turns out.
Yeah.
And as this happens, I don't know if it's like as he's realizing this, they play the psycho music or legally distinct sounding psycho music.
As we see the shampoo red going down the drain.
And
so
he screams.
We like these movie references. Yes.
I think I saw somewhere in IMDb trivia that the Bates Hotel is visible or the house is visible somewhere. I didn't catch it.
Well, that's cool.
He's hotshot movie producer, so he has an earpiece for his phone, which is just like an earbud. So in some ways, not that different from modern day. But they super glue that, so he realizes that he's both blue and orange, but he's got to get to his office because he's, business. He puts it into his ear. He's talking on the drive there to work or whatever, and he goes to really just yank this earbud out of his ear, and then he like hits his car window. Almost hits an old lady who calls him blue bastard or something.
Blue boy. Yeah, I don't know what she exactly says, but...
And then he's on the call with Monty, his assistant, and Amanda Bynes doing fun enough voice or accent work, dialect. She's supposed to be like a Valley Girl secretary oh my God, this person that he's supposed to be meeting just moved, so he's got to go to a different address. They give him the address, which is for the birthday party, the grandson of the stunt coordinator who he fired from the movie.
Okay.
I think, because then the replacement stunt coordinator, we also see later on, also doesn't like...
Lee Majors?
Yes, Jacob recognized him from
Fall Guy.
I mean, I haven't seen the movie. So.
Well, I mean, like he's the original Fall Guy from the show. So, but he's also in the Fall Guy.
So then,
movie,
this was probably a deliberate reference to the original Fall Guy because he's a stuntman in this, and he's like, "You're too old, old man."
So that's pretty cool.
In that scene,
I mean, this movie's 20 years old, and he's in the movie that just came out. He looks old in this movie too.
He's still kicking around.
Wow, Lee Majors.
But he's like, oh, I can't do this shoot because I got to go to my grandson's birthday party. And he hands him a clown invitation.
It's blue-skinned, orange hair, just like he is.
So then Paul Giamatti shows up at his house thinking it's a movie producer's house or something.
Yes.
And he goes in, and the child whose birthday party it is immediately says,
"It's a clown!
It's the clown, let's hurt him."
Let's hurt him.
And then a mob of kids all teams up, beating up on Paul Giamatti. He seems to maybe get some blows against some of the kids to fend them off.
One of them jumps from a balcony.
The birthday boy himself does like a 5-star frog splash from the second floor. And then that's his time to leave the party. And on his way out, he passes
the actual clown that looks just kind of like him, blue skin, orange.
Jacob's like, why do all the clowns look like this? And I'm like, no, Jacob, it's just one specific clown, and Paul Giamatti is not that clown.
No, just a unfortunate set of coincidences for him.
I was a little worried going into this movie that it was going to just be like so much of like them like fucking over this guy that it would get exhausting, in the sense of like a Mouse Hunt, the Gore Verbinski movie Mouse Hunt, which is up there with like Darren Aronofsky's Mother, as far as like, this movie is too stressful for me to handle. I just want them to just have nothing bad happen to them. But it's not quite like that, though. While he's in the party, I guess, armed with the knowledge of his owner's manual, they're able to get into his car and rewire everything.
Ooh.
We should mention, they're being chauffeured around by the limo driver still.
Yep, so he's kind of helping them
who first calls them out for lying, but then learns that they're doing this to Marty Wolf, and he hates Marty Wolf, so then he's fine
like, I'll help you, absolutely. So what they do is they, like, with the wires, they're connecting, like, the horn to the brake and the music to the gas and just all this
stuff. The key, though, is that then his radio plays I'm Blue, WWW,
which is great.
Eiffel 65.
Yes.
Probably a few years past its relevancy date at this point, but
we clap.
I love the song,
because we know the reference. Yes,
I'll give him that. Yes, and he runs into, or almost runs into, a big monster truck. He's hitting the brake.
Or no?
Yes, it's the Masher. He's hitting the brake, but it's honking as he's hitting the brake. Though eventually the honking stops, and then he he's very close to hitting the monster truck, but then he doesn't. But then the old lady from before crashes into him, and his like blue butthole. And then he crashes into just the wheels of the monster truck,
and he's pissed. Well, he like drives forward and he's like yelling at him, like, "Yeah, fuck," because he thinks he's driving away, but he's just turning around to squish him.
The Masher, which is written on the side of the monster truck with like a airbrush, kind of looking like a professional wrestler on the side. But
I wonder if you can legally drive monster trucks on the street.
I don't know. California, they got a lot of laws out there, so I feel like probably not. But he then drives it over his car. He destroys Paul Giamatti's car, and it's like, did they plan for this too, or is that a coincidence? So then we get, I think, for people in this fans of the movie, a big line which we cut. He's talking on the phone to his assistant, being like, "You got to reschedule my meeting." I think he's supposed to meet with like the new president of the studio, and he's like, "I can't make it," and it's because he's in a tow truck, and the tow truck driver says, "They told me I was going to pick up a little blue car, but not a little blue man, too."
Wow. Iconic.
The kids just started frothing at the mouth in the theaters. They were losing their minds. At this
Comedy gold.
Then it's, I guess, also like the premiere of his movie, or maybe that's like the next. No, I think it's still, I don't know. Maybe it's the next day or something. It's the premiere of the Chicken movie with Jaleel White. I don't remember what the title of it was. Probably like Foul something.
Yeah, it's something in Fowler, I think.
It stinks.
Yeah, and the president says, "Well, this is your last movie."
Yeah, there was like an after party after the premiere at his house.
Big fat liar who can't do that anymore because he just lost $30 million. He's like, "You got to give me one more chance. I'll prove it to you."
But Paul Giamatti, the studio president, is black, and he has a black wife, and Paul Giamatti.
It's like Shaniqua. Shanae.
Yeah, so,
my name is like.
He does also do a
Chandra or something.
A play on Ricky Ricardo's name, but uses the R word in place of Ricardo.
Oh, yes.
Later
on.
2002. Doesn't age the best, but I don't know. Some stuff I've heard about Deadpool and Wolverine, and some of that stuff's back.
It's back, baby.
But yeah, basically this premiere party seems like everything is bad for him, but he's still not relenting because Amanda Bynes and Frankie Muniz show up here.
Like several times, like we see Frankie Muniz pull up in the limo or just be sitting out on a bench or just be here and there saying like, "You had enough, Wolf? This can stop any minute. Just call my dad. Here's his business card." And just like several different
times. I was really expecting some kind of like Usual Suspect twist of Frankie Muniz getting something over on Paul Giamatti, but no, it's just like he doesn't even really lie so much after a while. It's just him doing pranks to him, and then Paul Giamatti's like, no, I'm not going to give in. So then they enter into phase 3.
I'll never back down. Never what?
The twist, which the twist, I guess, is that they're going to help him because the studio president's like, Big Fat Liar doesn't have an ending. I'm not going to greenlight this movie if it doesn't have an ending, which just seems to be, I don't know, film production 101, that you shouldn't greenlight it if it doesn't have an ending, or let alone put out a teaser trailer saying the date when this movie is going to be released. But hey, back then things were a little more loosey-goosey maybe. They go to this party where Paul Giamatti's just gotten chewed out, and Frankie Muniz is like, hey, here you need an ending, and they have a very sitcom setup where Paul Giamatti still got his earpiece in, and Frankie Muniz is... I like how I've just shifted from calling them their names to their actor names.
That's fine. I do it all the time.
He's feeding him what to say for the ending of the movie, very much like a sitcom date where somebody's getting like words fed to them.
We've seen this before, but Paul just rips out, like he's explaining to him, the character turns blue when he's sad.
Well, so what it is his girlfriend gives him something that cures his giant hood, but then it's affecting his emotions. When he has a certain emotion, he changes colors, and it's supposed to be revealing like the inner truth of emotions. But then he rips the earpiece out because he's like, oh, that is a good idea. But then he just still doing some of his own work. He's selling it to everybody, giving this rousing speech.
Red hair when he's angry, and then some kind of pink when he's in love.
And he's like, America.
He starts chanting stuff.
So then everybody's like clapping at the party.
God bless Big Fat Liar. God bless America. Yeah,
and it's like, oh, well, I guess this movie we just went to the premiere of seemed pretty fucking bad, but I guess we're psyched for Big Fat Liar, so let's cheer. And then the studio president's like, all right, you got the go-ahead, but if you fuck up anything at any point, I'm shutting down production. And it's like, is that really the best use of resources or time of people? It's just like, get the producer off of the movie. Like, I don't, there's director, there's crew, there's cast. It just seems, spoiler alert, the movie still gets made without Marty Wolf, but it just seems a little draconian to the little people involved with the movie.
Yeah, I mean, that's hundreds of people potentially without a job if it doesn't go through.
Marty's like, all right, sick. All right, you know what? I will call your dad. And I thought this was going to be something where Frankie Muniz gives him a number to call, but then it's for like the studio president or like a cop or something. And Paul Giamatti does something where he's just talking and not listening to what the other person says on the other line. And is like, I stole this kid's movie idea. But nope, Paul Giamatti calls the security team and just whisks him away. So I was giving Frankie Muniz's character too much credit.
So yeah, they haul him back and they take him back to their to
the wardrobe department.
Yeah, Amanda Bynes is like, we have a witness. So like we see that his assistant is like his assistant is not on Marty's side. Like she's kind of just fed up with his.
He keeps telling her to reschedule meetings, and let me tell you, as somebody who's scheduled meetings for people, I hate scheduling them to start with, let alone rescheduling them.
Yeah, she makes a comment, oh, so this kid really did, write this movie. Yeah, she's just kind of on the kid's side, so the kids go back to, get taken back to the wardrobe department, and then they pack up, and the security guard's falling asleep, but the assistant comes
as they're packing up,
relieves him.
Jason, though, calls his dad.
Oh, and tells
like, I'm going to tell you, I haven't been honest lately. But then they cut away. So for a second, I'm like, oh, did he lie again? But no, he didn't. I don't know why they cut away. That could have been
parents are going to come to pick him up.
Yeah, that could have been like an emotional beat. But they're like, let's cut.
So where are they staying tonight?
At the wardrobe department. Or like they're being driven. The assistant shows up and is like, I will drive them to the airport that night. But then she's like, I hate Marty Wolf. And they organize a gang of people
like
who all
everybody.
hate Marty Wolf.
Urkel's back. Lee Majors is in on it.
But we don't know that yet.
No, not yet.
I don't know if they're like in shadows or they're all wearing like black hats and like black suits to hide who they are. There's just one security guard who was the one maybe chasing them, but he hates them. We know that he's in on it or something. So that then enters into phase 4, which is payback. So it's going to be the first day of the shoot. There's kind of a weird sequence as they're setting stuff up where we just keep cutting to Paul Giamatti in different outfits. So he gets his own wardrobe montage and he has blue skin. But then when he gets picked up by the limo driver, who is their friend, he doesn't have blue skin. And he tells his assistant, he's like, I was scrubbing myself all night, but I'm like,
turpentine.
What were we watching of him wearing like an orange bucket hat?
Yeah, I didn't really understand.
They just really want to get their money's worth out of blue Paul Giamatti.
Yeah, I guess.
So the limo driver, who his beef with Marty Wolf is that he gave him his headshot and wanted to be an actor, and then
So he's acting like really clingy and stuff, like, oh, Mr. Wolf, he gave me the, I just want another chance, and he's like, the car starts to break down.
Yes.
Smoking, but it's really just, dry ice. So they pull
It's not
over.
even dry ice, it's just a machine that's like effects department.
Yeah.
So it's under the hood. So he doesn't want Paul Giamatti to come up and see it.
It's going to explode. You got to back away. And then Urkel pulls up alongside, and Paul Giamatti's obviously in a hurry. He wants to get to the premiere or whatever.
But it's kind of played in a way where us in the audience are like, oh, darn, somebody came to pick him up. But it was all part of their plan.
Yes, all part of the plan.
There was some weird bit where like Urkel didn't unlock the doors, but it was a convertible. So Paul Giamatti had to jump into the car.
I don't know.
But he drives him out into the middle of the desert.
They're just trying to really slow him down so he's late, I guess. I don't know.
Because if he's late for the first day of the shoot, then the movie is canceled and everybody's out of work.
Yeah.
Hooray! Jaleel White is driving him in the desert and going really fast, and Paul Giamatti then jumps out of the vehicle. Again,
yes.
Was that part of the plan? That they knew he would jump out of the vehicle because he was scared or something? And then he's calling his assistant, being like, I'm in the middle of the desert.
I mean, like, they're not going slow. They're out in the desert going like 60, 70. He's rolling out of the
car. Whoa, 60 miles an hour.
70, probably 75, 80. Who knows? I don't know. He rolls out, and then he's just dirty. Calls his assistant, who sends backup, and it's Lee Majors driving down, probably 30 feet off the highway in his helicopter.
I don't know if you say driving a helicopter.
Flying.
And I thought this might have been a reference to the Alfred Hitchcock movie North by Northwest, because in that movie,
kind of look like it.
Cary Grant, I believe.
Yeah, Mount Rushmore.
He's in the middle of nowhere, and then a plane flies low, and he gets scared. I mean, more than that happens in that movie. But in here, Paul Giamatti gets scared, but it's a helicopter. He gets up in the helicopter.
Don't worry, I've flown 26 missions in Vietnam. Or whatever he says.
I'm sure he didn't say Vietnam.
I don't know what more he says. In combat missions, whatever.
Maybe combat movies. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then as they're getting closer to the set, Lee Majors...
Emergency, or whatever, starts happening inside the...
It turns out to be a fake thing.
Yes. There's somebody hiding behind a...
Yeah, but they only have one parachute, so he has to tandem parachute down with Lee Majors, and Paul Giamatti is scared. And then I'm like, wait, are they going to crash this helicopter for a 14-year-old kid to fuck over this movie producer? But no, there's like a guy behind a sheet in the back. Yeah. Who's like, all right, don't worry, I got this. And he doesn't crash it.
It's pretty good.
I mean, it's post 9/11. They can't be having any aircraft crashing randomly.
No, that was pretty fun because, like you said, he's holding on. And Lee Majors isn't even like holding him. He's just like, woohoo, loving life.
Yeah, I guess their whole plan with the way it plays out is like they still want the movie to get made, because otherwise it's like, why don't they just leave him in the desert? Why even pick him up in a helicopter? But his hair's all fucked up because he parachuted down and he looks all crazed, and he gets onto one of the backlot sets, which is a Wild West set, and then he has a stare down where he looks down and sees Jason, Frankie Muniz, with Mr. Funny Bones.
Yeah. And Mr. Wolf is all in black, like you would like a villain in a Wild West movie.
Yeah, Jacob's like, he's in black like the villain. I'm like, well, he is a villain.
Yes.
It's not really super subtle.
Frankie Muniz needed a church behind them, because usually the good guys would have churches behind them.
And then they get on like golf carts and are doing a chase, and what very much feels like a wannabe Pee-wee's Big Adventure, because they're going through different sets. It's not nearly as long or nearly as fun as Pee-wee's Big Adventure, because eventually they get on foot and then they're just running through different sets.
One of the popular backlot features, there's like looks like a road, but it like floods, and they
for like it seems to be like a Mexican village.
Yeah, so. I've seen videos of that before.
Easily entertain people, I guess. Whoa, there's water here now.
They flood him out. Yeah, like I said, a lot of fun sets he runs through. It's fun.
And then it all culminates. They get into a rooftop or a building set, and they get up to the top. And then there is a John Woo reference as it starts to have slow-mo and doves are flying, which are both trademarks of John Woo. And then Mr. Funny Bones flies up in the air and lands down in the middle, and they both dive for it as if it was a single gun that they're fighting over. But then Paul Giamatti gets Mr. Funny Bones, thinks he's won, so he's kind of just like, I stole your movie, fuck you. I'm gonna live forever. I'm never gonna die.
Yeah.
Certainly nobody's gonna know these things I'm saying right now.
And then, of course, we see just like all these people start popping up, like
the director who's played by John Cho.
Yeah.
There's 800 cameras filming him.
All watching, and they're all hidden.
I mean, are they mic'd up for sound? I don't know. Are they able to capture that so far away? I don't know. Yep, they got it. And then I'm like, everybody's so happy that they've lost their jobs now because the studio president's going to shut down production. But nope, the movie, well, actually, first, everybody's there. They look down and they're like, we all are here. And we saw the cameras. We saw you. Jason's parents are there. The studio president's there. And then Jason does like a stunt jump off the building.
Pretty cool.
Lands on a crash pad.
We see that happen earlier in the movie. Marty Wolf is showing up to like some stunt jumping, guys jumping off, but we get to see it. He gets to Frankie does it. I feel like that I'd be terrified. There's no way I would do that.
Well, it wasn't him. It was his stunt double.
Yeah, but I would never do that.
What if when they did do like the shot earlier, just showing a stuntman jumping through a window, like if he got hurt, and it's like shit. Yeah, I got hurt. For Big Fat Liar. For a stunt that was just a stunt. It was supposed to be a stunt, so we could have faked it as much as possible. So the movie still got made. We see them at the premiere of the movie where the main character got recast
as the limo driver,
which seems like unfair to whoever the actor was originally.
That's true.
We see the ending where he grows small, but it doesn't necessarily seem, maybe he's bluish. I don't know if he's like changing color at the end. Maybe they use a different ending, but we see the credits.
The assistant's the one that wrote it.
But is it story by credit for Jason Shepard?
Yeah.
And then we're seeing he's in the audience. Amanda Bynes is in the audience.
Yeah, the parents, Amanda Bynes.
The bully,
the teacher.
and grandma.
Were they?
Yes.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, and why was the teacher there? And she's like super excited to be like, oh, my lying asshole student wasn't lying in this situation. I don't know.
He made a $100 million movie.
I can't remember if there's some final line, but
what
really,
if he gets any royalties from that?
Well, it's a fake movie.
He would have had to have.
I don't think there was contracts signed based on how a lot of the other stuff operated in this movie.
Yeah.
But the real key is that at this point, Jacob did fall asleep. But I woke him up in time for him to see the
Marty the Clown.
The final stinger of Marty Wolf being reduced. Because, yeah, people in Hollywood, if something bad happens to them, they're done. They never get to work again. Definitely not. He immediately has to go work as a clown where he is
blue and
willingly
orange.
Putting on the makeup. But whose house does he show up to?
The Masher.
Oh no, it's Mr. Masher. And then he sends his son, Little Masher, to kick him in the nuts.
Yeah.
And then that's the end of the movie.
The rear end.
Haven't had that one for a while.
Well, I brought it back.
For Big Fat Liar, you don't want to disappoint for this movie. So
DCOM vibes?
Definitely.
It was funny. Fun.
It was funny. So funny. Frankie Muniz is funny.
It had a DCOM.
Along with certain DCOMs where it's like, it's not a great movie. If I had nostalgia for it, would I have fonder memories of it or liked it more? Maybe, though oftentimes I'm able to be like, no, a thing I liked as a kid was bad. Unless it was good. Like the Goonies.
Dabba-dee on Blue Dabba-dee. That was fun.
Well, and then the credit song is some song by the Baha Men, like Shake That Thing or something like that.
Early 2000s vibes. We love that.
Well, Jacob was originally like 90s vibes. Jacob doesn't know what the fuck is going on. He doesn't know where he is. He's just like, hey, I know Frankie Muniz. He claps for that.
I clap for Frankie.
Mediocre film.
So you'd never seen it before?
No. And our choice was between, in my mind, we had a few movies that we maybe will get to later on or not. But I was like, either we do Big Fat Liar or Agent Cody Banks. I don't think there's a world where we're going to do both.
Well, you never know.
Though Hilary Duff is in Agent Cody Banks. So we would have had a justification to do either. But I did really want to see Paul Giamatti get blued in this. And it was fine. It was a kid's movie, but there's better kids' movies. Maybe not really around this era. I think this is probably a pretty, post-Shrek bad era for kids media, even for like Disney stuff. But I don't know. Jacob,
I
4
enjoyed
stars.
this. 3.5.
Whoa.
4.
I mean, I'm pretty sure currently on Letterboxd it's listed as 4 stars, but you were active on your account for about 20 minutes.
Did I rate it?
You rated basically any movie you ever watched as 4 stars.
That's pretty good.
Except for there's a select few that you rated lower, and that means those movies are dog shit. If a movie is rated even 3.5 stars by Jacob on Letterboxd,
bad.
It's basically the worst movie he's ever seen.
Bad movie. No, I had it's fun. Like I said, I hadn't watched it long ago, but I don't know. I don't know. I like being in Hollywood. I like Hollywood. I like being on the sets. I like being in the back a lot.
Oh my god.
I love all
right, moving on.
I love movies.
Jason Shepard could not have stopped 9/11. He probably was a part of it and lied that he wasn't a part of it. He was a part of the government cover-up.
That's true.
But if you want to let us know if you have some strong memories or feelings about, I almost said Agent Cody Banks, Big Fat Liar. I always wanted to say like Big Blue Liar, Bear in the Big Fat House.
Fun
My
show.
Big Blue Greek Wedding. You can write us at wholenewpod@gmail.com.
You got any movies you want us to watch? Write an email.
And we'll consider.
Consider.
Because I think Jacob's maybe got some shenanigans where he's going to try to get me to watch
Matilda.
I was trying to think of a funnier fake answer, but I got nothing. He's going to make me watch
Zombie-ass Toilet of the Dead.
I fell asleep in that movie, I believe. But that is wholenewpod@gmail.com. And that's all we got for this episode. We finally exhausted our supply of sodas. Not necessarily any new flavors on the horizon that we would normally expect with Mountain Dew, but stuff will always come up at some point. So look forward to that or dread that if you I don't think the mouth noises were too bad last episode.
Gotta love the mouth noises.
But then you can rate and subscribe to us on your podcast platform of choice, which at this point seems mostly to be Apple or Spotify or some third-party potty catcher. Thank you. You got me. He got me, everybody.
We got him, folks. We got him.
I never misspeak ever on these episodes. But good coverage because maybe I just would have cut that whole bit out. I'd just be like, or Spotify, nothing else.
You gotta hold him to it.
And then Jacob will just have said something randomly, but what the fuck is he talking about? So yeah, find us also on YouTube, youtube.com/awholenewpod, where it seems we maybe got some new listeners that came
subs
for
X Games,
us covering a new movie, which this certainly is not. So we'll see if that changes. And then yes, x.com/AWNpod. Dustin still is mustering on, though I tried to release him from his service.
Let him cook.
I mean, it is 1 tweet a month, so it's manageable, but yeah, I think that's everything. You got anything, Jacob?
Not that I can
Otherwise, I can say thank you, Jacob.
Thank you.
Because for the first time in over 120 episodes, for the first time in almost 6 years, Jacob drove himself to this recording.
It happened.
There's been times where I haven't needed to pick Jacob up.
Yeah.
But I did not need to take him over.
I've drove here before, but first time by myself.
You do the math on how that worked out, everybody. But ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Wow.
Round of applause for Jacob. Just in time for the podcast to not exist anymore.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.